Arsenal, top of the Premier League table, top of the Champions League table as well. Are they short in defence? This is the question we're going to ask. Do they need to strengthen? They face Chelsea in the Carabao Cup semi-final tonight. And Riccardo Calafiori, Piero Nkapie, James won't be available. Centre-back William Saliba is a doubt as well. Here's a question for you. Arsenal fans watching, they may think this is a silly question, but is there any chance that they get involved in this Guéhi conversation in January?
There's a chance, considering that they're interested in Marc Guéhi. Mikel Arteta's been quite clear about looking for opportunities in the market. He's always like that. They have a structure, they have a plan. Arsenal don't tend to attack January too often. They look for their business in the summer. They did a lot of business last summer. Unlikely to do anything in January, but if something comes up, like a Marc Guéhi situation, where there may be a bit of interest, why wouldn't there be interest? Top of the Premier League, top of the Champions League right now. The question around Arsenal, if you look at the defence, Christian Mosquera's also out as well. Look, they've got plenty of depth in there. We've seen Christian Norgard drop into centre-back. We've seen Declan Rice play right-back. You've got Ben White, Duran Timber, who can play along that back line too. I don't see it happening, certainly in January. I think we still wait to see what Marc Guéhi's thinking. Does he want to stay? Does he want to go?
But the big difference there is all those names you've just mentioned, and we're talking about Manchester City's list. Actually, Guéhi would look at Gabriel and Saliba and go, that's one of the best defensive partnerships in recent Premier League history. I've got a much better chance of playing every week at Manchester City.
It depends what his motivation is. Does he want to compete? We've seen, certainly with the injuries that Arsenal suffered this year, that actually all the defenders have been given opportunities to play. You've also got Nkapie and Calafiori, perhaps now first and second choice left backs.
Yeah.
Saliba, Mosquera, the right centre back, Gabriel, and then one other left centre back. And I must add, Arsenal have done a lot of business incomings. They've got to at some point sell. And they may look at one of those defenders as, OK, we can cash in some value. If we could bring a Marc Guéhi in, for example, in the summer on a free transfer, that's an unbelievable bit of business.
Just quickly, you turned your nose up when Nick was asking about Ben White to the Hill Dickinson. Why not?
I didn't turn my nose up. I was briefly explaining on the back of what you've just said about Arsenal's injury issues that they wouldn't let Ben White go. Ben White won't want to go in this window.
Why not even on a loan deal?
Because
with a
how does
deal?
First of all, it doesn't benefit Arsenal, who need the depth defensively. They're competing on four fronts at the moment. For Ben White, yes, he hasn't played much. I think it's only 5 Premier League appearances this season. But he's also part of a team now that, again, is competing to win the Premier League, competing to potentially win the Champions League as well. I think in the summer, the Ben White conversation might ramp up, because I think in the summer, that might be the time to have that conversation. But this is a player who's been at Arsenal for quite a while as well. So won't happen now in January, but let's revisit in the summer.
Sorry, Nick.
Is what it is. Yeah, another one bites the dust.
Another one bites the dust. Well, hopefully we'll have some positive news for the Everton fans in the weeks that are remaining in this January transfer window. Next up,
we've been promising you that we're going to talk Marc Guéhi. Now is the time. Now, Carve, every time I walked past your desk today earlier, you were on the phone talking to somebody about Marc Guéhi. There have been developments. What can you tell us?
I was talking to lots of people, not necessarily all about Marc Guéhi. Look, the race to sign Marc Guéhi is wide open at the moment. There isn't a front runner. There is no favourite. But I think we can narrow it down to 4 clubs. And the most interesting one at the moment is Manchester City, because we believe that City are the one club who are interested in signing him this month, as well as next summer. Now, to get him this month, obviously they would have to put a pretty big transfer fee offer to Crystal Palace.
What's the big transfer fee, given that he nearly went for 35 million on deadline day? So what's the big transfer fee in January?
So last summer he had a year left on his contract. Now he's got less than 6 months. Last summer, £35 million was almost enough to get him. I'm thinking still somewhere between 20 and 30 million pounds would be the kind of figure that
he's worth that, surely.
Well, he's an England international, but the only problem is that you could potentially get him as a free agent in the summer, and Manchester City are looking at that option as well. What we know is that City are likely to sign a centre-back this year because there are question marks over the future of John Stones, Nathan Ake as well. And obviously, it makes sense to look at Marc Guéhi because he's available for nothing in the summer. But the big question is, will they offer enough to tempt Palace to sell him now. And our information is that they've not made an offer for the player, but potentially watch this space over the next few days, because there are also 3 other clubs who want to sign him.
Spill the beans.
But they want to sign him in the summer. The 3 clubs are, the first one is Liverpool. He almost joined Liverpool on deadline day. It collapsed at the last minute, £35 million deal. Liverpool are pushing to sign him as a free agent in the summer. Arsenal are ready to join the race to sign him in the summer as well. I think Arsenal have a lot of strength in depth at the back. Also, Gabriel, William Saliba have signed new contracts. So I would say Arsenal's need is not as pressing as some of the other clubs. But having said that, he's an England international, available on a free. Of course, a club as big and successful as Arsenal are going to look at this situation. The final one is Bayern Munich. Now, they're interesting because they're a foreign club. They're the one interested club who can speak to him now.
And their manager was a great centre-back, which I'm sure Marc Guéhi would love.
Of course, I think he would be excited about the prospect of playing for the champions of Germany and also working with Vincent Kompany and playing alongside Harry Kane as well. And they can speak to him now. They can agree a pre-contract deal with him now. And our colleagues at Sky Germany are saying just in the past few days, they have really stepped up their efforts to try and convince Marc Guéhi to move to Germany in the summer.
My producer's telling me, Mark, you've got a sentence to tell me. One sentence. Where will he be playing his football come beginning of February?
In the Premier League. That's a sentence. Can I just say one quick thing on the Marc Guéhi situation?
Go on, real quick.
For the clubs that want to sign him, whether they sign him in January or in the summer, it's essentially going to cost them the same thing. Because if they give 25 million to Crystal Palace now to get him, or they give Marc Guéhi 25 million as a signing on fee in the summer, it's going to cost them the same amount of money. The only difference is that Marc Guéhi will get that money instead of Crystal Palace.
Exactly. So
I don't think he cares about the money, by the way.
No, of course.
I think he'll go for the club that's best for his career.
Indeed. So, City interested, of course. And remember, Ruben Diaz, Josko Gvardiol are both out. Ryan Aït-Nouri, he's coming back from the Africa Cup of
Marc
Nations.
Guéhi, future still very much unclear as things stand. We've talked about him right from well before the transfer window even opened. And that is a face which says, I hold all the cards, and he absolutely does.
You've been targeting a move for Marc Guéhi and could accelerate those plans.
Interested in Marc Guéhi last summer, but they went in a different direction. Obviously, Mosquera and Nkape, younger players, I guess, and sort of, slightly cheaper in a different budget. But Arsenal are definitely interested in the player. Whether they can do it in this window remains to be seen. Whether they'll bid in this window, which I suspect they probably won't. But if Man City fail to do it in this window, and my word, they're pushing for it hard, aren't they? There will be so many big clubs in for it. Arsenal being one of them, Bayern Munich another. Liverpool, I think, will be very interested again. So it's no surprise to me at all why he is the most sought after, most talked about transfer target of this January.
We could have chosen a nicer picture of Marc there if you're watching this morning.
Marc Guéhi, you're getting a great person as well as a great player. I watched the scenes post-match against Macclesfield Town, and he was talking to the fans. A lot of fans were angry. He does hold the cards, and again, I go back to it. I don't know what Palace get out of selling him really for around 25 million now, because they were fifth a few weeks ago. They're now, I think, around 12th. That's more than 25 million pounds. I think if the merit money they received, they obviously want to go far and they want to win the Conference League. Then that'll be hard without Marc Guéhi.
But, they will surely, Stephen, have the next one in mind because they've known that this has been coming. And obviously, Maxence Lacroix is a hell of a player as well. He's one that in the summer potentially will be linked with big moves away. They've got Richards who can play there. They've got options. They've got to move away from Guéhi. They know his future is not there. It's a matter of time.
Yeah, it is a matter of time. But I think if you're one of the top teams, if you're Liverpool or City, the 25 million, I don't think you approach them with that. I think you go more. I think you just go, you give what they need to get it done to make Palace feel like they're not being taken advantage of to some extent because he's such a talent and that they're getting a reward for it. But to get him out the door now, it's going to have to be more than that value, I think. I don't think they'd sell him for that. I think they'd only sell him for more. Even though his contract's up in the summer, I don't think they'd let him go for 25
But
million.
here's the scenario. Aggressive Manchester City come in and say,
Yeah.
OK, look, even if it takes 20, 30, and then the player says, well, hold on, I could get half of that in my back pocket as a signing on fee. And they say, well, we'll build that one in as well.
Yeah.
That's still probably a bargain for Manchester City, bearing in mind, if he had a 5-year deal still to run, he's worth 80, 90 million quid?
Yeah, 100%. You look at Van Dijk went for 75. That was how many years ago? Marc Guéhi is English international, revered throughout the league. All the top teams want him, and all the top teams feel like he's the player that can actually set them apart and push them for the title. So, it's a huge deal to try and get him through the door. So I think massively they have to go in for it.
Yeah. Good work, Stephen. Thank you very much. See you again soon.
Look, Arsenal are rock solid defensively. They've got a number of defenders who can play centre-back and a very established, clear number one, number two pairing. Can you really see them going in for another A-list defender?
In this window, it seems unlikely, but as we've been reporting, there's been a long-standing interest from the likes of Arsenal, Liverpool, Manchester City, all the big clubs like Barcelona, Bayern Munich and Real Madrid have a long-term interest in signing Marc Guéhi, and the majority want to sign him as a free agent in the summer. The question is, in this window, will anybody attempt to try to sign him now? Because we know that Crystal Palace would be willing to do business if a suitable offer came in, because I think they're desperate not to let him go for free, albeit they see the benefits of what Marc Guéhi staying until the end of the season can do in terms of what they're able to do, in terms of the Premier League finish, in terms of winning a trophy again, and what that could do financially for the club, and what that could do, therefore, in terms of recruiting players next.
Arsenal's transfer window is heating up as reports suggest the Gunners are edging closer to a £50 million deal for Crystal Palace defender Marc Guéhi. With Mikel Arteta determined to strengthen his back line, this potential signing could be a major statement of intent ahead of the new season. At the same time, clarity has emerged over Ben White's future, easing fears among fans as Arsenal look to build a settled and dominant defence. The speculation has sparked strong reactions, with James Green and Jamie Carragher weighing in on what Guéhi's arrival could mean for Arsenal's title ambitions. Would this deal take Arteta's squad to the next level, or are there still gaps to fill? As the transfer rumours intensify, Arsenal supporters are braced for what could be a decisive moment in the club's rebuild.